In order to explain why I think LEGO games have fallen off, I'll primarily be using 3 games as an example throughout the video. LEGO Batman, LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, and LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. I grew up playing LEGO games, and the Traveler's Tales LEGO series is no doubt what got me playing video games in the first place. The first LEGO game I played was LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, since I got it for Christmas, and I became addicted. I would not at all be the same person I am today had I not picked up LEGO Star Wars all the way back in 2009. From LEGO Star Wars, I went to Indiana Jones, Pirates of the Caribbean, LEGO City Undercover. Somewhere along the way in the almost 15 years since I picked up the Complete Saga, the design philosophy of these games has changed, and I believe that as a whole, LEGO games are on the decline, and I think they're falling off. And yes, it's true they have good releases in the current year. I think DC Supervillains is a good game, but I don't think these newer releases are good enough games to measure up to the quality and high standard set by earlier entries. The first level from LEGO Batman the video game is a perfect example how older LEGO games use their philosophy of level design. Batman and Robin start out in the middle of the street against some Riddler henchmen. They're pretty easy to dispatch, 1 or 2 attacks usually works. In the starting area, there are 2 mini kits you can get without needing to replay the level in free play. There's one directly to the left that requires a lever being pulled, and there's one up the ladder. The next thing you might notice is there's a citizen in peril in the window. You can break the window to save them, and this introduces you to the mechanic. Something else you'll notice is these older LEGO titles rely on pop-ups rather than entire pages and clutter on your screen explaining how to do things. They know exactly how much screen space to take up without interrupting gameplay. This is how it should be. Now, compare this to the Skywalker Saga, where there's stuff all over your screen. An objective telling you what to do, its marker telling you where to go. Character icons replaced by colors and symbols, and a fucking mini-map? I'm sorry, is this GTA or is this LEGO Star Wars? I'm not even going to talk about how much space the subtitles take up. Good God. The next thing you'll notice about this level is it has a suit for Batman, the demolition suit. All you need is the pop-up telling you how to use it, and the level gives you plenty of silver bricks to test your new ability on. In Skywalker Saga, abilities are not varied. There are few classes of characters and they all might as well do the same thing. Remind me why this character roster is the biggest in the series? Yeah bro, I really want to play as the Wandering Wookiee. Dude's fucked up at the crib talking about, bro, I'm playing as Bib Fortuna. Shut the fuck up. It's true that LEGO games have had this same issue since their inception, but the fact remains that if every character class plays the exact same for the most part, then there is no reason they can't shorten the list a little bit. I don't think anyone's gonna play as Maz Kanata, bro. It's okay. LEGO City Undercover, in my opinion, mastered this way of doing different characters that I wish we got more of. The base game has different disguises, or suits or abilities, for accessing different puzzles. And each new character that's not Chase McCain is simply a skin for that class, and I think that was genius. Now we just have this god-awful character switching menu. Don't even get me started on the HUD, we'll talk later about the HUD. Going back to the game, after we get the suit, we see there's a path of toxic waste preventing our character from going back to the start of the level. In my opinion, this is a great way to segment an area from the player because you learn that you can't go through there. And I think the boss fights that utilize toxic waste, mostly Two-Faces, are good because it shows you what characters can and can't go through toxic waste. And with this being such an integral mechanic for free play and the villain levels, it's important to learn it now while you're playing, and instead of telling you, the game indirectly shows you. And I think this sort of indirect guiding is something missing from modern LEGO titles. Skywalker Saga loves to push you around, take away your control, and have useless cinematic cutscenes. Perhaps as much as Forspoken? No. But it's still incredibly annoying. Take that screen cap that I showed you for subtitles when I was complaining about the subtitle size. It's basically an objective, telling you what to do. And usually in the Skywalker Saga, there will be multiple characters telling you what to do.
Stop them from tracking us, so
we have to shoot out their radar.
And their turrets. Those things have quite the range. Trust me.
Oh my god, shut the fuck up. I know what to do. Holy shit. While you're doing it, or they'll stop gameplay and have characters tell you. We need to let the players play the game. In the original LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, If you activated something that was corresponding to an area, the game would pan over and show what happened very quickly, no time wasted. However, with newer LEGO titles and Skywalker Saga, the panning is going slower because they want to show you the entire worlds that they've spent months making, and that's fine. So it's good to be proud of a product with this much love and care put into it. But I feel like this fundamentally fails what makes LEGO titles enjoyable. This sort of making games more cinematic, especially these, feels like unnecessary padding just to prevent you from realizing how shallow this game actually is. I mean, it's good that they are proud of these massive open worlds they've created. Like, there are no open worlds like this in any LEGO game. But the fact is they took away from levels to make this. Let's talk about level length. In older LEGO titles, levels could be as long as 30 minutes if you really took your time. But in Skywalker Saga, I'd be pressed to find one longer than 5 to 7 minutes that wasn't incredibly tedious or a waste of time. It's true that there are good levels here and there, but they're scattered and padded down by some of the worst levels I've ever had the misfortune of interacting with in any LEGO game. The beginning of Empire Strikes Back has Han Solo and some fucker walk across an open field to activate 3 satellites. That's it. The Captain Phasma fight from episode 7 is a nightmare because the one time an objective marker would actually be useful, they take it away from you and have you walk around engaging in blaster combat with stormtroopers just to hope you happen to run into Captain Phasma. What happened to the Captain Phasma fight from Force Awakens in the actual Force Awakens game? Jesus. The levels feel like obstacles to go through and just go on to get the next level. But then every level feels like that, and eventually just to unlock free play in the open world, which is such a disappointment. It's true that in a lot of LEGO games, the levels feel just like something to do, just something to get done. But this time there's no hiding it. Nothing is keeping these levels enjoyable. Everything just feels like you're working towards the next objective, that next thing. You beat the first episode, play the second one. You beat all the episodes, congrats, time to complete the open world. In older LEGO games, the puzzle structure is based around using different characters to complete an objective. Force pull a platform to let an astromech use a terminal to pull down a target that your gunner shoots, for example. In Skywalker Saga, puzzles are not difficult and you rarely need to switch your character at all. The most varied puzzle section of the game seemed like episode 7, when Finn and Rey are moving around the hangar, while Han Solo and Chewbacca fight off those goons. And those puzzles were not complex or character requiring at all. All you had to do was switch from Finn and Rey to Han and Chewbacca in order to bring Rey over to use her scavenger nets on a wall, when if this was the actual Force Awakens video game, all she would have to do is just be there and run. In LEGO Batman, to get past a section we need Robin to use his tech suit to control a car to press 3 buttons to open a door. This is good puzzle design, because while Robin is doing that, the other player can fight off enemies and make the way and protect his back. Early LEGO games have a design that is fairly simple, mostly linear with small rooms off to the side where you can find maybe extra studs, a red brick or a mini kit, maybe a character card hidden somewhere where you need someone with a certain ability. And these make replaying levels later on part of the gameplay loop. And it keeps you interested and makes you feel like you're completing something and working towards an end goal. When you got all the gold bricks in the Complete Saga, the game lets you build a fucking fountain that spews out studs. Does it matter? No, because by then you have all the studs in the game, you have 4 billion studs. But when you 100% the Skywalker Saga, you feel nothing. There is no reward for completion, which begs the question why you'd even want to try in the first place. Is the only reason to beat the levels to beat story mode? What is even the point of the game to complete in 100% if it's designed around the open world but there's no reward? The open world is beautiful for a LEGO game standard or for any game, especially if you turn up HDR, bloom, and pull out all the stops. Unfortunately, these open worlds are full of nothing. There are no enemies to fight past story mode, and the only things to do in the open world are talk to NPCs who sound like they were voiced on an Xbox 360 headset or a Blue Yeti, and hey, I wouldn't put it past them with how much time crunch they had.
I'm considering enrolling at one of Theed's many universities to study politics. I've spent my life campaigning for Gungan rights.
Or the other thing to do in the open world is to collect things using one specific character's abilities. And if we compare this to one of the best open worlds in LEGO with LEGO Batman 2, Collectibles are often behind obstacle courses of sorts. You need certain Batman and Robin suits to go somewhere or do something, but you're required to use both characters. And not just that, if you stay in one place too long, various henchmen show up. This keeps the game interesting, and it works in LEGO Batman 2 because they knew how the combat system should work. And speaking about the combat system, combat is something I consistently have a problem with in Skywalker Saga. LEGO games already nailed the kind of combat they need. They did not need to rework it. There was a video I saw a long time ago. It was about how Disney didn't really know how lightsabers work, and I echo that sentiment in this game. Lightsabers feel like toys, not blades of light that vaporize. But then sometimes they go back and forth. And so the question is asked again, are they light swords or lasers that vaporize everything? Pick one. Anyway, the blaster battles introduced in Force Awakens are brought back here and are significantly worse. Cover is almost always destroyed by your enemies, or you if your auto-aim snaps, because your gun will constantly snap out of auto-aim, constantly on the controller, and enemies take 5+ shots to die. And not to mention how lightsaber characters are almost entirely useless in this section, besides throwing a lightsaber to destroy cover and miss anyway. The auto-aim almost never works properly, and blaster battles are so often used to replace actually entertaining combat or moments where the developers would actually have to try. Lightsaber engagements are all the exact same, and the most optimal play is usually to always throw your lightsaber. Every boss fight in this game is pretty much exactly the same, besides a few. The General Grievous fight is really cool, because you have to go all over the place, and it's actually kind of varied, unlike the others. And Darth Maul's is kind of cool because you have to actually switch characters. Woohoo! The focus on more varied combat is an opportunity that is entirely wasted. When we compare that to the bosses in the Complete Saga, they're almost all different. Darth Maul has multiple sections where you have to complete a level in between each section. In the final section, he's jumping around all over the place trying to avoid you. Jango Fett is more than just weakening the ship and trying to run. And in the level when you fight Anakin as Obi-Wan, the players can fight against each other if they're in co-op. That's not all. Darth Vader's sections are very different, and the best fight in the game, fighting against Emperor Palpatine as Luke and Darth Vader, uses multiple parts of the level, where you have to go around the entire area and up certain sections to get to him. He feels like a true challenge to conquer, whereas here it's just quick, deflect the lightning back, fight 2 guards, do it again until he's dead. And back to the level in LEGO Batman though, the Clayface boss here is very easy, but this is the first boss in the game, and this isn't bad because this is good game design. The boss fight relies on batarangs and the use of the demolition suit, which, if you're playing single player as Robin, means you have to switch over to Batman. Oh, and before I can forget, take note of the red brick you can just happen to get here. And after this, there's a cutscene with a vehicle. And speaking of vehicles and their levels and encounters, every vehicle level plays the exact same besides the pod race. You have a vehicle, shoot X enemies, shoot X things with torpedoes, hope you get torpedoes on your own to make progress. Don't worry though, torpedoes just kinda spawn on you without you having to find any or make any effort to go out of your way to get torpedoes at all. Every vehicle feels slow and clunky and impossible to match your enemy's speed to consistently hit them. You always have to flip over, dodge, reorient your camera, and pray you can hit them before they regen. When I first got the Millennium Falcon, I was like, oh my god, something that doesn't feel like the worst controls ever. Mind you, the bar was in hell. And speaking of the bar being in hell, I've already complained about the characters, but I won't let you forget how much I think this HUD and UI is atrocious. Instead of having characters switch with the Y button or the one at the top of the interactive buttons, you now have to go into this awful HUD and character switching menu. Characters are separated by class, but switching doesn't even work. Don't ask me why. The first tab in this terrible ass HUD is the galaxy map where you can select different planets to fly to and areas to go. Then there are hints, objectives, upgrades, and data cards instead of red bricks for extras, but you can activate any extra at any time. And these ideas aren't bad, they're misused. I think upgrades for a LEGO game are not needed. You just make the characters consistently good or consistently bad. Balancing is almost never an issue in LEGO games. This isn't Payday 2, you know, there doesn't need to be a skill tree. And I actually like the data card idea, because being able to unlock any extra at any time, so long as you have enough data cards, is a great idea, but this in practice is just bad, and putting all of these things cluttered in the same menu is terrible. The over-the-shoulder camera here murders any chance of the levels feeling creative, and it makes sense why it's here. It's to emphasize the open world. And before, LEGO games would have a camera that pans around the level so you can see both players, but now it's just behind one of the players. And speaking of the players, co-op is almost thrown out of the water here. Despite what everyone these days says, couch co-op is not dead, and not everyone has the luxury or the friends to play with anyone online or in real life who isn't a sibling. And speaking of playing the game in real life with someone, the co-op in this game is dog shit. It never works how LEGO co-op should. It's incredibly player 1 biased. Player 2 has no say in anything. In the Complete Saga, besides a few moments here and there, players 1 and 2 felt equal, on the same playing field almost. And like I said, in Revenge of the Sith, you could fight the other player if you were doing co-op. Now if you have 2 players in that level, in the Skywalker Saga, someone is Obi-Wan, and someone controls the fucking droids. Still though, the other even worse example is how in Episode 6, in order to fight Palpatine, whoever is playing as Darth Vader just has to let the one who's playing as Luke win in order to make progress. One player can't beat the other, it must be Luke who wins. And this is to keep in line with the story and cinematics, I'm sure, but this is disgusting. It doesn't need to be this way. This is throwing away player freedom, something that they've claimed to want to support with the level design, in the New Hope with the stealth mechanics. This spits all over that. LEGO games didn't used to have voice-acted characters, or focus so heavily on story and cinematics. This was a massive change to the formula when all of a sudden in 2012, LEGO Batman 2 was teased with voice acting. The first game in the series to try such a polarizing new direction. And for the most part, it nails the voice acting. Sure, it's corny here and there, but some parts are actually pretty good, and among the best video game speeches I've heard, I gotta put the first one with Joker during the Man of the Year show in the top 15. And yes, I know I've trashed the furthering of cinematics in LEGO games a little in this video, but there's a couple reasons why. I'll reiterate the first and main 2 problems I have. 1. Cinematics being more prevalent takes more control away from the player when they should be playing the game. I understand if you have pre-rendered cutscenes to load in areas, that would be different. In 2, sort of fitting to the last point, but video games, in my opinion at least, are meant to be video games, not movies. I understand if a Sony fanboy is utterly creaming themselves at playing a game 75% cutscene, like Forspoken or God of War or whatever, but I'm not one of those people. I play games to play the game, not to watch a movie, and if I wanted to watch a movie, I'd already have done that. But who are we kidding? There's only 5 Star Wars movies that are actually good anyway. The cutscenes last incredibly long, because they want to make this more of a movie than a game. And given how the open world sections between levels are sometimes longer than the levels itself, this makes sense to give that movie feel. But it doesn't work when replaying. When we compare cutscenes here to the ones from like LEGO Batman for example, it's very quick. The Riddler takes his key, runs away. I know it's unfair to compare original story like LEGO Batman to Star Wars, but old LEGO games had shorter cutscenes that would not just retell a movie verbatim. The typical LEGO game humor is here for what it's worth in some capacity. Is it good? No. Humor is interjected in the most serious of moments, which is fine, occasionally, but then it'll be some random quip taken during a super serious section. Take this part where Padme and Obi-Wan confront Anakin on Mustafar in Episode 3. That's just not funny, even for LEGO humor. I would say compared to everything else in this game, this point hasn't regressed that much. And it doesn't feel too horrible. It's true that I have nostalgia for the Complete Saga. It was the first video game I owned and played and completed to 100%. After all, there's no way I wouldn't be nostalgic about it. To say this game is flawless though is wrong, and when we compare the games, it's not even close. And it's not even about the nostalgia. One plays like a game, and the other plays like an interactive movie. And while that is part of the point, I would never pay $50 for a movie that I press a few buttons during. In preparation for the video, I decided to record myself playing the entirety of Episode 5, and I'm going to play back the highlights that have points that I have not already addressed. Go ahead and skip to the timestamp I have in the text box here to avoid hearing my assorted complaints. I will say, This is the first level that you play through with the vehicle where it feels like your vehicle is actually strong and like not shitty. So that's cool. Yeah, I have to wait till it does the full animation to shoot my fucking torpedo. No, stop fucking correcting me. I need to go back here to get a mini kit. Stupid fucking game, I can't move. What the fuck? God, this game fucking sucks. I swear to God. Why can't I move my controller up? It just feels like they're trying to do the movie in Lego. No, just be a Lego game. It's like when before they had voice actors in Lego games, they were forced to be more creative in like how they told the story. But here they just don't have to try like that anymore because they have just people, the same fucking actors voice acting, just going, oh yeah, you know, doing their little movie lines. Like, come on, what? This scene is I don't like how they did this. I'd rather just sit through a loading screen personally. Like to travel through the worlds or whatever. I mean, I get why they have this. They did this in Lego Batman 3. That was like when they first introduced it. But I've never been a fan of that style. Honestly, I'd rather sit through a loading screen than just sit in like a random area hovering for a minute. I had this going for like, what, 11 minutes, and we've been on a level and a half, or no, we've been on like 3 levels. 2 or 3 levels, I believe. Is there a way to check? I can't check right now. This animation is also recycled for every world and every ship you use. Get used to seeing this exact animation a bunch if you're playing the game. Sequences like this were as slow as like Skyrim or something. You were forced to walk the whole time. You didn't run by default, you didn't walk by default. You were like this walking, and it was so annoying. But I guess they realized that too late, but kept it in the game because now I can run while following. So that kind of pisses me off a little bit more with the prequel levels. It's like, if you're gonna have the feature but then do this, why did you do it in the first place? Okay, why are we not aiming for the head automatically? You know, what's the deal with that? If they're gonna have battles, then you should aim by default to the head or chest. And I don't know, this battle system is weak. It still seems in its infancy. There's not enough here. Don't you love new Lego hit systems when they block every single hit 5 times in a row? It's really fun. There's nothing wrong with it at all. I will say per character health is a cool implement. The only problem is the game still uses hearts when enemies die. Like if they'll drop a heart, but you don't know how much like health you get. Oh, it's one of these again. Did you guys like it when we made you repair the Millennium Falcon for the first time? We really think you should do it again. You really need to repair the Falcon again. There's nothing else we decided for you to do here besides that, so you're gonna have to repair it again. I'm sorry. Stop talking. Holy shit! I hate all of you. I hate all of the characters in this game. Marvel-ass writing. Everyone's like, oh, Forspoken's bad. I agree, Forspoken is bad, but the writing in this, the way the characters are in this, oh my god. Did you like the area of effect attacks that we made more frequent with every boss fight now? Remember how you fought all those stormtroopers? Do it again. Keep fighting the stormtroopers. You have to keep fighting. I mean, just Lego games aside in general. A lot of good games, like Half-Life 2, for example, one of the best games ever, right? Half-Life really knows how valuable the player's time and control is because they almost never take it away. Even in cutscenes, you're still able to move around and move your camera. You're not just sitting there, staring at the screen watching a movie when you wanted to play a game. Can I move yet? Okay, cool. Now we're starting off having to block the attack. Always a great way to start. Oh, we're doing this thing where we move we have a cutscene to move instead of just moving during normal gameplay. Haha, we threw a teddy bear and a bicycle at him. This is just such a fun Lego game. Aren't you happy that... Oh, and you have to block every subsequent hit, too. Another critique. Why does this sequence show up every time I start the game? I've already seen this once. I don't need to see it again. And for my final point and complaint, give it up. Drumroll, please. The fucking DLC. $93 for every piece of DLC. Yes, I know you only need to spend $30 to get the character collections. But the average older person or younger person is not going to be as perceptive, and they might buy the wrong one. It wasn't cool when Payday 2 or the Borderlands series had ridiculous amounts of DLC, and it isn't cool here either, especially when most of the packs are reskins of other characters and the characters have no voice lines. I'm already not a fan of voice lines in LEGO games, but not having any for characters when every default character in the game has them is something I'm not okay with. It screams of laziness, greediness, and desperation, which only furthers my opinion, here it comes, that LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is an abomination that fails on all fronts as a LEGO game. It fails to capture what made LEGO games so well made and polished, critically acclaimed, successful, and what made the formula great in the first place. The shine of the previous 20 years is wearing off, the formula loses its luster, levels are becoming shorter and shorter to make room for the open world and have more cinematic cutscenes and cater their game to the TikTok era of 5-second attention spans, and the puzzles are simpler. But when I was a 6-year-old, I figured out the Complete Saga's puzzles just fine. If I was 6 playing this shit, I would kill myself. The combat attempts a little too hard to be something it's not, stepping all over previous LEGO game combat, and even the ones that had successful ideas behind it. I liked the blaster battles from Force Awakens, but they aren't implemented well here. Every LEGO game now takes from the Smash Ultimate ideology, as in every character is here, even the useless ones. And while that works for Smash Ultimate because there are less than 100 characters, meaning each one has a separate niche and a separate use, all of the characters in LEGO games now, they do nothing but take up space. And with at least 20 extra characters per film, and in some cases 5 outfits per character, what the fuck? The open world is full of nothing and there's no reward for completing it. The HUD is full of garbage and unneeded RPG mechanics that do nothing, and much like there being no reward for the open world, there's no reward for completing the upgrade skill tree when you can't exactly use any of the upgrades in the open world. Vehicle levels and boss fights play out the exact same. Combat is a breeze because in most options the best play is just to spam RT and throw your lightsaber. The open worlds in between levels bore you to death when if this were just a better game it'd skip the filler, show you a quick cutscene, quicker than these fucking cutscenes at least, and boom, you've skipped to the next level. The over-the-shoulder camera is good for open world, but awful for campaign. And speaking of campaign, don't get me started on Player 2. Player 1 is given so much priority in this game, Player 2 does nothing and gets no chance ever. Voice-acted characters and cutscenes are almost as vocal as Frey in Forspoken, and I mean that in the worst way possible. They sound more and more like they just want to recreate the movies with LEGO rather than creating an interactive LEGO Star Wars experience. And to most, these games are not terrible games. And in my opinion, they're most certainly not awful when you compare them to other games in the market like Battlefield 2042, and any of the million EA, Ubisoft, and its other games like that. And especially most recently Forspoken, and I don't mean to rag on the game. On Steam, the Skywalker Saga has a 92% positive rating for all-time reviews. And that's great, that's fantastic. I hope the 92% love the game, but I can't stand this game. And I don't think it measures up to what we've come to know and expect of games that have the LEGO and Traveler's Tales title behind it. And the truth is that I might be talking through nostalgia right now, but my opinion is going to remain unchanged because nothing here shows me and proves to me that they're capable of capturing that lightning in a bottle anymore. That magic that made the earliest LEGO games so well received. One of the few praises I can give the Skywalker Saga though is that it's $20 below the new retail price of $70 per game. Woohoo! I won't force my game price politics on you now though. Overall, if you want the definitive LEGO Star Wars experience, play the Complete Saga with the modern overhaul mod, and LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens. Even without episodes 8 and 9, it's more of a definitive experience, and come on, it's not like the last 2 movies were good anyway. Don't play this shit. And I'm going to put LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga in F tier.
Shiva slashing through your flat screen, it's nowhere for you